Hey guys, I'm Retro Bliss, and you're on the Retro Bliss Rewind podcast, and we have a very interesting topic to talk about tonight. We're going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch. We might morph over into some other topics on modern consoles, but we're going to focus at the beginning on the Switch 2. And so, without further delay, let's get Mike from Mike's Gaming Gala and Brian from BD Retro Mods on the show. So what's up, guys? How you guys doing? Thanks for coming on. And Mike, I want to publicly thank you for doing the show last week.
And bringing you on in a wife beater.
Right?
Yeah. I'm not wearing my wife beater today, guys.
I was wondering if we were going to have an encore.
That should be your normal dress.
Yeah, it kind of is when I'm around the house. I'm just laying around the house. But anyway, they don't call it wife beater for nothing. No, I'm kidding.
Bad joke to start the stream.
No. I'm like the Bengals. I can't.
We're here to talk about Nintendo, not
right.
abuse.
I know. Anyway, so for those of you who don't know, Nintendo is going to be releasing a new Nintendo Switch later this year. It's rumored, and you can't believe the rumors, but it's rumored to be around May, but they have dates already set up to preview this thing in different locations. There's 4 locations in the United States, and it's in other parts of the world that they're doing this as well. But the actual release date and the actual price point are all speculative. We don't really know that, but I honestly, guys, I don't have a Switch, not yet. It's on my bucket list, but I want to get one. But now that this is coming out and it's backward compatible, I'm wondering if I should wait until this comes out.
Probably.
Yeah, because even though I could probably get one at a decent price,
depends on the price that you could get a current Switch. I'm with Casey on this one. For me personally, especially considering most modern gaming that I do with my kids, the Switch is hands down my favorite console. I also prefer the more pick up and play games. I don't get me wrong. I used to love playing games that take like 15 days to complete, of actual playing, like 24 times 15. I don't have the time for that anymore. The Switch, especially considering that, you can take it out of its dock. I love the Switch, and I absolutely will be getting a Switch too. For me, it's a no-brainer. I want to talk a little bit about the reception. When they first announced it, they had that little trailer that just showed that, at least from what they showed in the trailer, it's just a bigger, more powerful Switch. And a lot of people were like, And it kind of irked me a little bit, because Sony and Microsoft have gotten away with that every single generation. Every single generation has just been a bigger and more powerful PlayStation, or a bigger or more powerful Xbox. And that's perfectly fine. But when Nintendo does it, you didn't innovate. You're not completely, bringing something new to the experience.
Right. It's a matter of expectation. We just expect
we kind of expect that from Nintendo. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the Switch, in the same way as the Wii, although less gimmicky than the Wii. I still like the Wii. But I think it just hit at the perfect time, and it took off, and it continues to do well. But I have zero doubt that the Switch 2 will not do nearly as well. I think it'll do well, but I don't think it'll do nearly as well. It's not going to be the same kind of lightning, because there isn't that kind of new innovation. But I have zero doubt that it will be solid, and it's going to be a day one purchase for me.
And I don't know that if it's as much the innovation side, if it's just more times have changed. And I guess what I mean by that is, when the Switch first was shown and announced and came out in March of 2017, I believe, I mean, that was like the most unique thing in the world, right? Because I mean, prior to that, you had the 3DS forever. I mean, came to a portable system, and this was the first one. Like, holy crap! There's a dock. I can plug it into the dock, and now I got my full blown console. That I'm
Mid game, you can pull it out.
right. I literally have full console gaming at the palm of my hands, which, portable gaming never gave that. Like, it was portable gaming was kind of always a generation behind when it came to playing stuff. So, where the Switch just gave that, it was such a neat factor, and then just the unique controls and everything like that. I think the issue is that I think in some ways they might have waited too long to get us a Switch 2. And the reason for that is because now you have the realm of portable gaming PCs. So pretty much like the Steam Deck.
Steam Decks. Yeah.
Which ultimately the Steam Deck kind of showed, let's take Nintendo's model and make it even better. A higher end machine that you can still enjoy your favorite, homebrews, retro games, but you can also get some very upper level games in there as well that play at good frame rates and everything else.
Yeah, and on many different platforms, including not just PC, but all these emulation programs that have been released.
Right, and I just think now that you have the Steam Deck, and then now you have Lenovo, you have Asus, you have a couple other companies making Windows-based gaming PCs that have a much higher level now of power, which Nintendo's never been in the spec wars. I mean, we know that.
Well,
I mean, at least since Super Nintendo.
At least since the early mid 90s.
Right.
The Nintendo 64, if you're considering just power, it certainly had its other flaws, but just powerful. It was more powerful than the competition. So,
right.
But I think they learned, it was the GameCube year, GameCube generation, that they learned, we're not interested in competing in that way. However, one of the niches that Nintendo did carve for itself, and that niche is going away thanks to Steam and stuff like that. But in the Wii generation and in the Switch generation, at least, there was a huge marketing flop with the Wii U. We won't talk about that. But for those two generations, everybody had an Xbox or a PlayStation and the Nintendo console.
Yeah.
And where Nintendo has a lineup of franchises and intellectual properties that is the envy of the entire gaming industry. And this Switch 2, if it launches with a new, not a remastered again, but a new Mario Kart, for instance, Mario Kart 9,
it's rumored.
It's going to fly off the shelves because people need that game.
Well, and that's it. I mean, that's what Nintendo's always had ever since forever, has been their first party lineup of stuff. And again, if you like that stuff, which I think all of us here do, including probably most everyone watching. I mean, if you're a fan of Mario, Zelda, Metroid, you name it, that it's a Nintendo branded thing, you're going to want this console to play the latest versions of those. I mean, many times, I think where kind of like with the Wii, it was such a unique difference. That's what got people buying a lot more than just the first party titles. And that was kind of the same thing with the Switch. Like, man, I can take it on the go and I can play it on my TV. I can,
for instance,
on the fly.
I've got like Doom Eternal. I've got Wolfenstein New World Order on the Switch. I don't care that the graphics and it's not as powerful. I want it on the Switch. I like that format. Albo is mentioned here that Steam Deck versus like the Switch is apples and oranges. I would agree to a point. I think that's blurring though. We're coming to a time where consoles, like the big appeal of consoles for me has always been, you buy the console, you buy the games, they just work.
Yep.
You put them in, you play them right away. And consoles
We haven't had that.
the last few generations, consoles have become basically proprietary PCs. PCs with proprietary operating system, proprietary software, but they are PCs. And I put a game in, and the game isn't even on the disc or the cartridge. In most cases, you put it in, and it has to download at least the majority of it. And so that's why I think some people are looking towards Steam. It's like, well, it's the same experience, but there's maybe a broader library of software.
Mm-hmm. And with Steam OS, they've made it really simplistic in the sense of, you know, going through your catalog. I mean, they've really made it feel like a console gaming experience. And I think it's just, now that you have those devices out there, I think it's quote unquote set a new type of standard. And I think when we saw what's coming from the Switch 2, and again, people who thought it was going to be an equivalent of a Steam Deck, again, doesn't know the back history of Nintendo for the last how many consoles. However, like right now, it's they're saying spec wise, it's probably about the equivalent of a PS4 Pro. You know, again, we won't know that for sure until things are more discussed, I think on April 2nd when they do stuff. But, you know, we already saw there's definitely going to be Mario Kart 9. I mean, I have no doubt for them to show that in that teaser, that's already going to be a release title. And again, to your point, that's going to make a bunch sell.
Just Brian already said it, but it's going to be
the current Switch,
the actual Nintendo Switch is a 360.
Yeah, is as powerful as PS3 and 360 right now. So, but I think, you know, whenever you looked at what it brought, so again, when you compare to the portable PC machines like a Steam Deck, that, I mean, we're getting a bigger screen, which is good, but I think there also starts to become a point, when is it really no longer that much as portable? You know what I mean? Like, obviously we're all getting older, we would love bigger screens on all of our stuff, right? But I mean, when does that start to become no longer a portable device, even though you can hold it in your hand? I know there's concerns with the kickstand on it, because especially with the OLED one, which was that full bar at the bottom that would come out, it's very thinned out again. And then the magnetic Joy-Cons, which I think is great for being someone who's had to fix a number of family members' Switch consoles because of the rails. You know,
and the thing the thing that I'll say, my experience with Nintendo products is they do make them pretty robust.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, magnetic Joy-Cons, either they're really secure in there, or there's some kind of mechanical something click.
Well, I think the concern with them is, at least looking at the design that they, you know, obviously that they share the final design is just such a little pin like in the middle of it, that it's just a very thin, like, I don't know how many pins it is, but where, you know, the magnet goes on the top and bottom, like in the center is where the connection occurs. I think when you start talking about like kids using it, things like that, how easy is that going to be for those little side pins to just snap off? Like if a kid drops it wrong, or even an adult, you know, if you drop it wrong.
It'll be interesting to see, but I'm kind of reserving my concern until I actually feel it in my hands. Albo's got a pretty good point here. A majority of Switch consumers, he feels, are parents. Probably right, but that's also part of the genius of Nintendo's marketing. Is like, I remember, and I know Albo does too, but back in the early 90s, everybody like, oh, Sega's the big boy console and Nintendo's the little kid console. Those little kids grow up and they're loyal Nintendo fans. And when they have kids, even if they've stopped gaming, they buy a Nintendo product. And then the cycle repeats.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why, like, Nintendo really does have very enviable position, in that like I said, not only do you get one of the big boys and a Nintendo, which ends up making the Nintendo a big boy, but also they have a loyalty that is, I think, unmatched.
Mhm.
There's like, you look at retro gamers, and a lot of, like, we're older. When we think, classic gaming, we're thinking the Atari. But I mean, even you and me, we're probably thinking Nintendo and Sega. And a lot of people, when they're going back, they kind of stop at that Nintendo.
Mhm.
And
Well,
I go to any convention, like video game convention. What is the biggest presence of, like, on anybody's table? It's the Nintendo products.
Mhm. Oh, and I don't disagree there one bit, and a lot of that has to do with just the fact of quality. I mean, at the end of the day, you can go back and play the original Super Mario Brothers, and it's still a very fun game. And I'm not saying they haven't had some duds in between, but like when you look at the Sonic franchise from Sega, like there's so many duds with it. Now there's some good ones. There's some good
Yeah.
ones.
Oh, of course.
But there's a lot more duds in the mix when you look at Sonic's history compared to Mario's history. Or you look at
the one thing you really have to give Nintendo credit for is their own IPs. They take care of.
oh,
And when they
without a
release,
doubt.
like if it's a Mario game, if it's a Zelda game, if it's a Pokemon game, even a Metroid game, these games are polished. They may not be the most graphically awesome. They may not be the most innovative, but they deliver exactly what they promise, and they do it very cleanly.
But yeah, where my concerns come in with the Switch is the model worked this time around. Obviously, I mean, I think the Switch is on set to become one of the highest, if not the highest, selling consoles.
Right now, I think it's number 2.
Right. So the whole formula worked, but now the question is going to be, and we'll know more here hopefully soon, but what is going to change in the formula to help up that game? Because I don't know that the same formula fully works a second time. Because again,
it certainly doesn't work to that extent.
No, I mean the Nintendo games are going to be fine. But when we start looking at third-party developers and different things, like if all they're going to do is port over their PS4, Xbox One games, is that going to be enough this time around? Because again, the Nintendo Switch from third-party had a ton of ports. I mean, I don't have a count, but there's so many games from that PS3, Xbox 360 era that they maybe gave a slight fresh coat of paint to and re-released it. And is that going to work again? Are we going to have a lot more original stuff?
On the Switch, it worked for me because there's a lot of games that I didn't get on the older systems that, I'll try it out because I like the Switch and I'm playing on the Switch.
Right, but you also didn't have Steam Decks and stuff yet either.
True, but I don't have any of those now.
Correct, but
I'm a console gamer. I do not play. I used to be a PC gamer, but we're talking like 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But Civilization 3 was my jam. I've put years of my life into Civilization 3. But I kind of dropped off from PC gaming. I went back to console gaming. Albo's absolutely right. Nintendo, just like Square Enix, bank on their IPs. And I think, and that's the only reason that I think the Nintendo Switch is going to do really well. I don't think it's inspiring. It isn't inspiring to anybody. A little bigger, a little more powerful. In the same way that I have never really been inspired by the newest PlayStation or the newest Xbox.
But with that said, though, we're at a point.
Better.
Yeah, but we're at a point in gaming though that we're not going to see the upgrades that we saw back in our retro times. You know what I mean? I mean,
And so
at all.
let's talk about that actually. First of all, I would love that. I don't think it's going to happen. Port of GTA 6 on the Switch, but that would be amazing. So let's talk about that. The leap from 8-bit to 16-bit was huge. The leap from 16-bit to 32-bit was huge, and the leaps and bounds. And then when you got into polygons, the leap from 10 polygons to 50 polygons on a character is massive. The leap from 10,000 polygons to 50,000 is much less noticeable. And so with all this extra power, yes, the graphics are going to get a bit better, but they're much smaller increments than they used to be. However, what that power allows you to do is put more on the screen. So your draw distances are not like, remember playing, I don't know if you ever did, but I was a big Silent Hill fan. And playing Silent Hill on the PlayStation, and they had the fog in there specifically because it had such bad draw distances. That fog was added to make up for that.
Yeah. Like 3/4 of the Nintendo 64 games out there. Same reason.
Exactly. And so now that allows your draw distance to be further. And even now, like, well, maybe not in this current generation, but say the 360 PlayStation 3 generation, you would look and you'd see the hill far away, but as you approached it, then the buildings would pop up. Or let's say in an Assassin's Creed, when Assassin's Creed first came out, I had it on the 360. You'd have a crowd of people and it'd be like 20 people. But then you jump forward to Assassin's Creed Unity, and now you're in a crowd of 200 people. It just allows you to put more on the screen. The actual graphics themselves, they are better. Not hugely better, but they are better. But it allows you to put more on the screen.
So the days of console gaming, true console gaming, they're dead. They are dead because you like you said, you can't just go buy a game, plug it in, and play. Now, one thing I even though I don't have a Switch.
Can I just say I was really impressed when I got this and I put it in and it had like a 2-minute update and we were playing. So the game actually was on here. I was very impressed with that.
That's the exception.
In general, you are correct. That is the exception.
Yeah. So I forgot what I was going to say. Other than the fact that, I like the fact that the Switch has the little tiny cartridges that are portable that you can take on the go, put in a case along with your Switch, and you can do that. Instead of the portability of it is very appealing to me, but it's still not like just putting in a game and playing it. Not.
Yeah. Well, I think it's hard to say is console gaming like done, and I don't know that it's quote unquote done, but I think we're in a situation though that the console gaming as we know it, I think is near its end or kind of already has happened. And what I mean by that is, to your point, when we're plugging in an Atari cartridge or playing an NES game or even really until PS4, right? That everything prior to PS4 was on the disc and it ran. Well, PS3 might have had
for the most
updates.
part. For the most part.
Yeah. So you plugged it, you did it, and it worked. And the problem now is just we're at a point where what I like to call we're in the fake physical era, because again, we all like physical games. Digital is very convenient, but we all still like our physical stuff. But when you get that Nintendo Switch game and it's using an 8 gig cart for a 60 gig game, and they expect you to download the remaining 52 gigs, or it's an unfinished game because they got to meet production deadlines. So they know how long it's going to take to produce the cart. So they hurry up and send what they got, knowing that they can patch it. And I just, that actually brings me concerns with modern gaming, because many of these games are, like Mike said before, either not on the disc or partly there, Or the whole game might be on the disc, like your Mario Party, but there was a 2-minute update. So what was broke that they had to hurry up and fix it?
Something was fixed, and
You
as
know?
Kevin says here, physical games have become half
Yeah.
DRM.
Right. Exactly. So when you have that, do I want to stay in the console gaming, especially
Well,
when
and that is why Steam is now able to compete, because if you're doing it anyway, and
right.
it's not that Steam wouldn't be able to compete otherwise. Like, Steam is peak PC gaming. Don't get me wrong. There's PC gamers, there's console gamers, there's people who do both. But what I'm saying is that console gamers are now, I mean, at the very least, any game that you get, whether you buy a disc or you download it, you know it's going to work on your hardware.
Mhm.
There's that at least. But the lines are blurring. I do want to bring up this. Albo, he heard me say Civ 3, and I also played a heck of a lot of Civ 2 before that. But do I feel or do we feel a Nintendo style SimCity would work today? I can tell you, at least with my kids, anything, especially when they were younger, my daughter is still in this phase, anything world building, and if Nintendo did their usual Nintendo polished, I think, now I've never played Animal Crossing, but I think Animal Crossing is kind of this, like world building, like you build your farm and you have your friends and all that stuff. But I think it would do really well. And for instance, it's not SimCity style, but if we're talking world building, I scoffed at Minecraft for the longest time, and then finally I started playing it with my kids, and I totally get that. You can just sit and zone out and build. And I used to love SimCity, so I do think something like that.
Yeah, I think it definitely has a place. I mean, I think, well, because I don't remember the name of it, but I know there's a Civilization game on the Switch that was, I don't want to say a dumbed down version, but more of a casual version to be able to play. And I know it was very successful. And I think you do something like that. DQ11. I love the Dragon Quest series. I'm with you. I love that game. I enjoyed it a lot on the Switch. But I think if they make it more catered, I think I don't see why it wouldn't go.
I miss it. I'm gonna have to find SimCity and play some SimCity.
Oh yeah,
SimCity 3000, I think, was probably my favorite. Although I played the most of 2000.
Yeah. But yeah, so my concern though is, so as it was mentioned, like we got half-baked DRM. So now I just spent this money on this game, and what's going to happen when we know, because we've seen it time and time again, especially from Nintendo,
the store shuts down.
They're going to shut down their store. So now what do I do? Because now what games are, and I know there's a website I think out there that'll tell you what's on the disc and what's
is it
not
on the disc.
Yeah. But again, if it was patched, then it still wasn't all on the disc. I mean, if you, any minute you had a download, it wasn't fully on the disc.
This, however, so some of them, it's just updates. I had the option, and a lot of Switch games that are actually on the thing, they have the option where you can
check for updates.
You can choose to play it without the update. So it still works. It's probably just missing something, or maybe there was a tiny bug somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, but again, you don't know that, and that's just going to be the issue, because
that's the question.
So where, like the Phil's point, I love the fact that the Switch was like mini cartridges, and it was just like, I mean, I loved it, but now I'm like,
one of my biggest reasons for, like, if I'm going to get something, like I've got all three systems.
Yeah, same here.
But if I'm going to get it, I just like the form factor of this so much better. It feels more unique to me.
Right. That's just where my fear comes into with the current stuff, and even like with Xbox, because we're hitting the Nintendo hard because that was kind of the main topic. But the question is going to be, are we going to see another console after the Series X? Because we all know I mean, I like Xbox, but it didn't do well in this generation. And Microsoft is starting to go on the whole gaming as a service. So
And
are
specifically, before we move to that, because I know what you're moving towards, there's been a lot of news lately that Microsoft is going to support this Nintendo Switch 2 very well. Perhaps even not quite, but close to partnership level. Which I think it would be wild to be playing Halo on on the Nintendo Switch. But you were talking in the green rooms about like Game Pass and stuff like that. Did you want to talk a little about that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like I'm wondering, because you're right. Like, there's a lot of stuff out there that Microsoft seems to be big in on the Switch too, and it does make you wonder if we are going to see the Game Pass on the Switch. I mean, not Game Pass in the full sense, because the hardware is not going to be able to run it, but be able to do the cloud versions of the stuff. So I would not be surprised if we see that with the Switch too. And because I think Microsoft, that's kind of where they want to go. I mean, they want to do games as a service. I mean, I think it's kind of more of an afterthought, like, oh, if we need to do hardware, I guess we'll do hardware. But at the end of the day,
I think they're realizing that hardware isn't anywhere near where their profits are.
Nintendo's the only one who makes profit on their consoles.
So I have always preferred Xbox to PlayStation, not because they're better systems, not because of the game libraries, for one thing and one thing only.
Yep.
The controller's so much better. So they keep manufacturing these because these are like the go-to controllers for PC gaming in a lot of situations. A lot of controllers are modeled after that. I don't care if Xbox goes away as long as the controllers stay.
Oh, I think the controllers will stay, because I said, I think, and again, which is kind of in this conversation, which is why, like, the Nintendo Switch 2, I think it'll be fine because of first-party exclusives. But it's just going to be, is it
like every Nintendo console?
Right.
It does fine because of the first party, but if it's going to be a big success, it needs that third party.
Correct. It's just how much. I mean, I think they're going to have it. I mean, you're not going to see them not. I mean, there has to be some pretty big flops in the process, I think, to hurt their third party stuff. But I mean, especially after the successes of the original Switch. However, you know, I mean, it's out there. You can do searches on it. I mean, Microsoft, because of the whole portable PC gaming handhelds, is looking to take the Xbox UI and put it to Windows. So if you're running Windows on a gaming handheld, it's going to load into the Xbox UI to compete with Steam OS, to make that easier experience, because of the fact the lines have gotten so blurred now, you know, because you're right. I'm with you. Like, I did PC gaming like 20 years ago or whatever, like during World of Warcraft, things like that. And then once I got out of that, then I went full focus back into consoles. But, you know, as we've talked in some of our previous podcasts, that I did break down and get another gaming PC here during the holidays. And it's such a different experience. Like, a lot of the nuances that we had to deal with PC gaming, with installing stuff and everything, is not really there now. I mean, when you have
not with Steam, it's not
right. I mean, with Steam, it makes it a much smoother process to get your games installed. And
especially for anyone in our chat who is maybe a little younger, I still have disc binders full, and you had to cut out the little the key, and put it in with the disc in your disc binder in case you ever needed to reinstall it anywhere. So I've got all these discs with just this little strip of cardboard that has the license key.
Right. And then, you know, is it going to work or not? Because again, a lot of that stuff's already handled within Steam. Like, it's going to let you know. And then when we talk about controllers, there's Xbox and PlayStation controller support in Steam. So, I mean, pick your poison. I'm with you. I prefer Xbox controllers any day of the week.
I
But
agree with that.
pick your poison and play them. And and then you got cloud saves and all the other stuff. So like when you have that ecosphere now in PC gaming, because to the point, I think people liked console gaming because it was convenient. It was easy. You just popped it in, played it, and it worked. But now that console gaming requires downloads, and again, is it even on the disc? Things like that.
Also, the other thing I'll add to the appeal of console gaming is like that couch co-op stuff compared to PC gaming. But even that is starting to more available.
Again, because again, if you have a Steam Deck, you can dock it just like a Switch and do your couch co-op, because you can have I think technically you can have up to like 8 controllers running. Don't I'm not going to swear by that number, but you can have multiplayer stuff. And that was another thing, because with PC gaming, at least a long time ago, there wasn't really multiplayer stuff unless it was online, where but that's not the case now. I mean, because I know my son and I picked up controllers and played the newest Contra game, on the other day on the computer. So, and you can hook that up to your TV like a console. So
GOG is a site that I have used twice to get game. I got Red Baron 3D, which I had loved when I was in college, and it played awesome. And Civilization 3 I re-downloaded from GOG. So I don't have a problem with GOG, but I don't use it much.
I could speak on that a little bit. It's not nearly as nice as Steam, because the games, if you buy them, especially if you bought them early, as time goes on, PC hardware gets better. New pieces of the hardware inside of PCs that require certain games to be updated, and they don't really support that very well. No.
Mm-hmm.
Some do, some games they do, but some they don't. So at least that's been my experience with GOG.
Yeah, my experience is incredibly limited, but I was happy with the 2 games I got from GOG.
Yeah. I've become a new convert to Steam, because I said the whole experience.
You know what? Let's be honest though. That's your new shiny toy.
Well, no, I mean, it is a new shiny toy.
It is. You're still in the honeymoon phase with Steam. Be honest. Well,
no,
you're on the beach in Malibu.
No, Brian's like where I'm at already. I've been on Steam for quite a while, and I still love it. I mean, because here's the reality. On Steam, I can download all those modern Atari games. I don't have to worry about the DLC not being available on my console or on my system.
What a jerk!
You know,
PCS.
But that's my point, though, because that's going to be a problem with the way console gaming is, and honestly, it's because of the environment of console gaming now that it's kind of forced me to go back to the PC platform, because and they made it a much better experience to now. I don't want to say I really don't notice a difference. And if I got to download my stuff anyways, if it's not going to be on the physical media, I might as well have it in a place that I know if I want to play it again in 10, 15 years, I'm going to be able to do that, because Steam has shown time and time again that catalog's going to stay. It's not getting shut down like other stuff.
I was obviously being facetious when I was
when
I was saying all that, but I think much like Kevin's saying here, a lot of people, they may be intimidated by Steam simply because of remembering what it was like to play PC games 20 years ago and what you had to go through, and oh crap, I don't have enough RAM, or I need a new CPU or graphics card. And the ease of it is converting a lot of people. Can I make a parallel though? I think Steam, Sony, and Microsoft should be much more afraid of Steam than Nintendo should be, because I think Same as it has been in the last few generations. People will have, Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, and Nintendo, again, because of those first parties.
Yes,
And
Or
because-
because of the kids.
Well-
Or because of the kids. My 9-year-old daughter is not getting a Steam Deck, but she can play the Switch.
Getting back to the issue with GOG, though, my experience with Steam games that I've purchased, they keep supporting them. They just keep supporting them. Does Xbox and PlayStation keep supporting all their games indefinitely? They don't have a good history with that.
What Brian was saying, the stores eventually go offline. They usually support them from about 5 to 10 years after the console is discontinued. But the stores do eventually go offline, and that is a problem. We've lost Xbox Live Arcade stuff from the Xbox
my
360.
point.
We've
Right.
lost those games.
Right.
We've lost PlayStation games. We've lost the Wii U, the Wii Shop or whatever. There's some good little games in there. Same on the Wii U. We've lost them. That is absolutely true.
Yeah. And if I'm going to put my money toward them, I want it on a platform that's going to be around. And I get that to a point, Poe, but also though, again, a Steam Deck doesn't cost that much. Now, again, a Steam Deck isn't going to run your high-end Call of Duty or anything like that. But for a lot of the games that I think we enjoy, a Steam Deck can do it. And again, even the gaming PC I have right now that I got during Black Friday, it wasn't, it was around $1,000 when it was all said and done, and that's running.
Yeah, but with graphics cards being as expensive as they are, you probably got a good deal.
No, well, I did. That's why I pulled the trigger and did it. I mean, and it's running a GTX 4060 in it, which is enough to do stuff.
Here's a question for, I guess, probably more Retro Bliss because he's been doing it longer. Your PC hardware, whether you're running Steam on it or not, or whatever, how many years do you get out of that before you feel like you need to upgrade?
See, I'm kind of anal about upgrading anyway. My PC, I always have been, and especially with having the channel, I've got to kind of keep up with, But I'd say I build a new PC probably once every 4 years, maybe. But that doesn't mean I won't use hardware from the previous PC in the new PC. But graphics cards or things, and RAM, that's something that those are the things that really determine whether your PC can handle gaming or not. Now, you obviously need a faster processor, but the processors that we've had the last 5 years or so do fairly well with most of these games. At least that's been my experience.
I imagine a lot of games, and obviously Mr. Postale's got some hyperbole in here. A console is generally supported with software that is guaranteed to work on it, whether it is DRM, glorified DRM or not, for between 5 and 10 years. Without ever having to upgrade your hardware, without ever having to whatever.
Well, now the thing
works.
The thing though, with even the PC game though, it all comes down to how many frames a second you want, and do you want the absolute best graphic fidelity when you play? Because I would say even with a gaming PC, you're going to get you could get a similar lifespan as a console if you're okay with running games on medium settings instead of the high settings. And those medium settings are going to still probably look better than the console version, because that's one of the things that has surprised me is the graphical increase of games I would play on Series X or PlayStation 5 and just see what they look like now on Steam. Is just like Final Fantasy is a good example of that. It's just like, wow, I'm really surprised at some of those, even something like Fortnite. I don't play it a ton, but every once in a while I'll play it with my son and stuff. And just on the PC, it's graphically it's a superior experience compared to what I was on my Xbox Series X. So, I mean, I think as long as you're willing to, as long as you're not like, I always got to have that cream of the crop top tier, I think you can get a similar lifespan out of a gaming PC.
Okay.
So,
I also, if I can bring this point up, I was always partial to PC gaming for a long time up until COVID, and I started this, collecting and starting a channel and stuff. But I was a PC gamer for a lot of years, and it's not just because of what Brian just said, but it's also because you have your controller options, or you have more. You can hook a controller up to your PC, but you can also play games with your keyboard and with your mouse, and which it's going to be difficult to
Dreamcast, you can play with your keyboard and mouse.
Typing of the dead.
So, I mean, and there's certain like real-time strategy games or first-person shooters. I still struggle playing some first-person shooters because I'm used to playing them with a keyboard and a mouse. That's just the way I played them all those years.
Yeah, I was the same way. Like the OG Call of Duty. I played a lot of the original Call of Duty.
Yeah. But no, I mean, that's just where I've become. And again, I know it's early, but I don't seem like, obviously I'm going to get a Switch too, because I love Nintendo first party games. I'm going to have one. Yeah. But like, if Xbox has another console, I don't see a reason right now why I would even get it, because I can get
and
Game
in
Pass
all honesty,
on my
I
PC.
don't think they will.
Yeah. But let's just be hypothetical. If they would,
yep.
I don't have any reason to, because I have Game Pass on my PC and I can easily play those games there. And I don't see myself getting a PlayStation 6 or whatever it would be called, because I think Albo said it at some point in the conversation. I mean, Sony's putting their first party games out on Steam to download on the PC. So now you're giving me even less reason to need your console. I mean, that's the crazy part. So when you have all this stuff available in quote unquote one platform, why would I buy two consoles when I can take the money for two consoles, get a gaming PC, and get the best of all worlds?
I also want to bring something up. Go ahead. I don't mean to interrupt you, but we were talking about the portability factor here, and something to think about here. For those of you who do have Steam, I can play Steam on my phone and a backbone just with as long as I'm on my local network, and I can play my Xbox games, my Xbox Series X games, as long as it doesn't matter where I'm at, as long as I have a good internet connection and I have the actual console on at home. Mm-hmm. So, the portability of it, but again, there are those conditions. Whereas with a Switch, once everything's installed or whatever, you can take it, to the beach or wherever you want to go.
Well, but again, you get a Steam Deck or some equivalent, you could do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you could.
You can't do it with Mario Kart.
No, but again, you're not gonna get your Nintendo first party. That's for sure.
That's right.
To answer your stuff there, Poe. So that's the beauty with Steam right now. Because again, I just got back into PC gaming, and it's just it will just run. Like, you literally hit the install button, it installs to the default location of the computer. And then you go into Steam and you hit the play button and you're playing the game, and you do not have to remap buttons. It is already configured for an Xbox or a PlayStation controller. So as long as you're using one of those, which I think everyone has, one or the other, that it will just work. And it's kind of neat, because if for some reason you do swap between going the keyboard and like, all the controls will change like on the fly in the game. And that's just one of those, I guess, beauties of Steam with the way they got stuff set up now. I mean, Steam has really made themselves the kind of, what I would say, console style gaming with the power of a PC.
I would agree with that. But again, like we were saying earlier, I think, if we're to return to the Switch 2, everything will depend on what the third party does with it.
Yep.
It'll be successful regardless. Nintendo has the franchises to do it. Unlike the Wii U, the Wii, it did really, really well, and then it tapered right off. The Switch continued to do well. It's long in the tooth now, but it continued to do well. So I think they have a strong lead in. I hope that they market it well. But the first party is going to be a no-brainer for a lot of people. And the third party will be the difference as to whether it's a huge success or just a success.
I think
That's my
another
personal
thing.
opinion.
I think another thing to consider, and I don't know, I thought we might have brought it up, but just in case we didn't, is that it's backward compatible with your.
We didn't bring that up.
It's supposed to be backward compatible with your current Switch. So
now there is an asterisk with that, but I believe. But now I think
it's a rumor, but
it's not a rumor.
It will be backwards compatible.
It is backwards compatible, but Nintendo has put an asterisk to that because certain things like, but again, the stuff that would not work, I don't think, are people diehard playing it. So like the Labo, the cardboard stuff they did, Ring Fit.
Because the controllers are bigger, they won't fit.
Right. Yeah. And that so pretty much anything that involved the Switch sliding into something or a controller sliding into something is not going to be compatible because the size of the Switch 2 and the controllers of the Switch 2 do not match. So
the other thing that actually brings up a good point, the backwards compatibility. Thank you, Phil. Is that could be also the saving grace to the Switch store. If the Switch 2 is backwards compatible, then theoretically everything that's in the Switch store should remain.
Oh, it'll remain.
It's not gonna get terminated in 2 years. But it should remain throughout the entire life of the Switch 2, really.
Oh no, there's no reason it wouldn't.
Yeah, Labo. I got the Labo. I thought it was neat, and then I was like, "Where the hell am I going to store all this goddamn cardboard?"
Well, and that's the issue I have.
The kids liked it, and then it was just like it just sat in a box.
Because at the time, the age of my son at the time, I mean, yeah, he really enjoyed the stuff. We put it all together, but to your point, after I put it together, I'm like, now what the hell do I do with it? Because I don't want to like try to fold it all back flat again and like throw it. So I really have it in 3 tubs right now in my basement.
So fun fact, my kids and I, when I first got the Labo, I got like the robot backpack thing, and I got the starter one, right? We did the starter one, and we were gonna do the big backpack one. It's still sitting in the box because I didn't want to build that big. We
built it. I will say it was very cool for the little bit of time it was used. I mean, I couldn't use it, but I mean, it fit him good, but and he had some fun with it at the time. But yeah, that's in 1 tub all by itself.
Mr. Poe-style, just trying to cause fights.
Well, he's not wrong though. I mean,
well, no, look at the last line.
Oh yeah, that yeah.
Somehow, I think their reputation, their backing, as financially is much better.
Yes, yeah. Nintendo is not worried about their finances right now.
No, and again, I don't think Nintendo has
and Amico doesn't have any. So
yeah, no,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I just because I know we're getting toward the end here, but yeah, I agree. As a recap, though, I think the Switch 2 is going to be fine. I mean, I think they used up a lot of tricks they used in the original Switch. So I think they're going to have to really, because
it's just going to be bigger and more powerful.
Right. I mean, they're going to have to do something because, like Nintendo, like they pretty much brought every Wii U game over to the Switch to supplement their release calendar, their release schedule. You're not going to be able to do that again.
Yeah, I gave them a pass for that because the Wii U sold so poorly. Right. And there were some fantastic. I actually really liked the Wii U, It certainly wasn't a success, but I think it had a lot of wasted potential. So it made sense to bring those games over because
Right.
a lot of people never did them. And Cannabis, no, they're not going to make a sequel to that stupid Labo stuff. I don't think so.
I highly doubt it.
And this is a great question. I would love if my Pro controllers were compatible with the Switch too. I don't know.
I mean, part of me says again, they have not made any official statement on this, but I don't see why they wouldn't. Because if things are all backward compatible between, like with Bluetooth, I'm not sure why a Pro controller wouldn't work unless we're going to see some amazing new Pro controller 2 that just.
Will they finally get the memo that triggers should not be a button? They should be actual triggers. That would be great. Although I do really like the Pro controller.
Yes. So, I mean, I think we'll know more on that April 2nd.
And I would certainly imagine that if you have an established Nintendo account, that'll migrate.
Especially with the backward
That's
compatibility stuff. Yeah, all that stuff should. Because my same Nintendo account I had for the 3DS.
We cannot confirm that, but we are assuming that.
Right.
Well, guys, I think it's been a very informative and interesting podcast tonight, man. I've learned a lot, and Phil,
are you now interested in jumping into the Nintendo Switch?
Well, this is what may be holding me back, but
we've talked about this, Phil. You're not allowed to complain about money anymore. I saw your Christmas haul.
No, that's because my wife she unleashed the purse strings. She holds them all, buddy. Trust me. But I appreciate everybody being here tonight.
I was gonna make a wife beater joke there, but
yeah. Well, it is towards the end of the show, right? Okay. Now this is tentative. Now, if some retro news comes up, or we have a special guest that may come in its place, we will not do this. But right now, we're talking and planning on talking next week about video game ports for your retro systems.
That'll be a good one.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good one.
Hopefully, we can get Casey the Intellivision Gamer on, because he is a homebrew expert.
Yeah, he has a lot of them. He has a whole lot of them. So anyway, I appreciate everybody that was on the chat, and I appreciate you guys being on the podcast as always. You guys are my rocks, man. You my bros. You know what I mean? So thank you so much.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
All right, guys. You have an awesome day. We'll see you next time on Retro Bliss Rewind.